Hey, thanks for joining our webinar today. I hope you're all out there. We're recording and everything is going the direction we wanted it to go. But thanks for taking time with us today. We are going to be presenting with our partner and corporate member eGain today. So you're in for a treat. I'm David Hadobas with CCNG, and we will be discussing, as you can see from your screen here today, the contact center digitalization in the current situation of the pandemic that we're all in and beyond, because there's a lot of conversation with members as to how do we make this transition and what's it going to look like. So our discussion leaders today, we have Sam Hahn, who's the VP and Technology Evangelist over at eGain, and Heather Pena, who's the Director of Web Chat and Operations at NRG, hence the background NRG Energy. So a couple of notes here real quick as we get started. You know, we're all dealing with COVID. We know it's changed everything. It has created a demand in consumer digital interactions, certainly with the younger folks, but it's also forced the older folks like me to do that just due to health concerns. So contact center, certainly our members and contact center leaders are making some adjustments to this digital change, this transformation. So we wanted to talk today a little bit about what are the new digital requirements for contact centers. How are these companies leveraging digital to scale customer self-service cost effectively? Sam and Heather are going to share what they've been doing. Sam's got obviously a number of client deployments that he can speak to. And Heather can speak to what they've been doing there. So throughout the discussion today, if you have questions, and we hope you do, please use that questions box. If you're new to CCNG and you've not done a webinar with us, this will not be your typical webinar. We tend to interject throughout your questions, our questions, so that we're really having more of a conversation and less presentation. And that's our style and approach, and we hope it works for you. But again, we appreciate you taking time. So thank you again for joining us today. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Heather, for taking time with us today. And Sam, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of start things off. But would you also, if you would please, for those folks who are not familiar with eGain, perhaps you could just start with a very high level who you are and why that's important to our conversation.
Sure. Thank you, David. eGain, and then I'll speak a little bit about myself as well. eGain is a company that's been around since the early days of the internet, and it's really betting on the fact that over time, customers are going to want to interact with businesses and themselves on this new digital channel. And if there's anything that's really borne that out, you know, that's really what has happened in this pandemic. So anyway, I'll tell you a little bit more about eGain in detail a little bit later on, but about myself, I've actually been around with eGain a little over a decade. I started as VP of Engineering and then went into some new product development and new technology development as VP of Technology. And I'm lucky enough now to have the title of Technology Evangelist. So I get to spread the message, explain the company, explain our positioning, explain how we think, explain some of the insights that we've gotten out of watching hundreds of contact centers, if not pushing 1,000 now, over a couple of decades, and looking at best practices, next practices, what to do, how the journey for the enterprise proceeds, you know, as they acquire channels, as they acquire knowledge capabilities, as they push it, you know, into workforce management, et cetera. So yeah, those sorts of insights are what we would like to engage with you in conversation about. And we're particularly excited to show you some results of some quick surveys we just did in the last few months, just to verify some of the trends that we were seeing. So anyway, in short, we're a global SaaS company, and we were one of the very first SaaS companies, by the way, founded in 1997, purely as a hosted application company. That's one of the earliest, that provides an industry-leading digital customer engagement platform. So we knew that enterprises wanted to engage with their customers in this new digital channel. And if anything, as I said, COVID has taken it from your to-do list, your backlog, your roadmap, and put it front and center. And that's why we're here talking today. In March, the whole world basically took a little left turn here. And we watched, as we looked through hundreds of contact centers that we're supporting, we watched as they dealt with the flux change. Okay, so initially we saw that customer contact centers were being closed. What did that mean? Okay, it meant that agents were really not responding, queues were piling up, and then as the companies were able to provide the technologies and then get the infrastructure out to agents' homes, we saw the opposite swing. We saw traffic just kind of go through the roof. We've seen volumes go, in fact, almost 2x. One of the companies that I deal with, a very, very large company, their traffic went 80% above what it was during Christmas season. So that's remarkable. So anyway, those are some of the impacts that we've seen. And so therefore, after having watched all this, we had a special survey done, and we did this, I think about 2 months ago, just to see, are the trends, the anecdotes that we saw corroborated across all the other platforms and all the other kinds of interactions that customers were having with their product providers, So we went and looked at companies' experience and the way they deal with their customers. And not surprisingly, 80% of people say they've increased their use of this digital channel since the onset of COVID-19, okay? So everybody said, yep, I'm there now. It's not surprising, right? I can't go to the retail store. I'm stuck at home, okay? What am I gonna do? The thing that's actually stayed up has been the internet, right? We got it in 1991. It was rocky in the early days, but now, how can you imagine life without the internet? And we're seeing that here, okay? We're seeing that over 80% have actually said, yep, I'm using this channel more and more. Not surprisingly also, it's being led by the Gen Z, the younger population, right? You can see that there are fewer in the, let's say, older generations, the baby boomer generations, that are saying they're increasing. They're probably still more comfortable using the traditional channels like phone or personal presence. But as you know, it's hard to find a millennial or a Gen Z or even a teenager these days that doesn't actually have a smartphone. And they're definitely leveraging it. And this was corroborated by our survey, and it shows that as you go towards from baby boomer all the way down to Gen Z, the trend is strong and the trend is just going to continue. We also see that once they engage, again, the younger consumers say, yep, this is where I want to be. This is where the service was good. I got what I needed done. It was quick. It solved the problem. Boom, I'm on, with the rest of my life, okay? And again, the trend here is also clear. The baby boomers are less likely to say this, but the younger you go in this particular graphic, the more likely you're to say, yep, I got it, I interacted, I got on my way, this problem was solved. We also wanted to look across the primary industries that we serve, okay? So the primary industries that we serve are financial, these are banks and credit unions, we serve retail, we serve communication and infrastructure providers, health insurance companies, that's a big one, property casual life insurance, and then government, which is an emerging huge sector for us. So we wanted to look at which ones did well. Not surprisingly, because it was probably one of the very first sectors to bring their operations onto the internet. The banks, the credit unions, most of us, probably, I suspect, probably over 95% of us interact online with our banks, interact online with our credit unions or credit card companies, okay? And then as you order things, and notice what's happened with online retail, you can't go to the store anymore, right? So that is clearly increasing. And then as you see it go from there on, you'll notice that unsurprisingly and sadly, government is the sector that lags when it comes to whether customers are actually happy with the service. And so there's more to be said about that. So it was the sector that dropped the most since the onset of COVID, okay? There's probably a number of factors. I don't want to get into speculation in this particular survey, but very few have saying, hey, government service has gotten better. Most of them are saying, yeah, well, I want more from my government services, particularly on the internet, and they're least likely to offer this digital channel. And as I mentioned before, these financial institutions, they're there. These transactions are all very, very tight, very, very easily delivered via digital channels. And so they're the ones that actually got there first. They had the least impact from COVID, but government is the one that had that sector was the one that was least satisfactory. Now, the next point is crucial. This is probably one of the most crucial points I could be making in this particular presentation, okay? Majority of customers surveyed, over 50%. So this is 57%. So they got different answers for the same question, depending on the touch point. Now, if it's trivial things like, when's my delivery going to get here for my, toothbrush, that's not an issue. But you'll notice in some cases, particularly in, let me see if I can go to the next slide. In healthcare, how important is it for the answer to be correct and consistent and match regulatory requirements? If you're looking here at the healthcare industry here, are the answers going to be consistent? Only 65% here in this healthcare insurance category say yes. 35% say they're getting different answers. Sorry, was that wrong? No. Yeah, they're getting different answers 65% of the time. Sorry, it was reversed. It's even worse than I thought, right? So if you have this level of inconsistency in matters that are life-affecting, potentially even life-threatening, what is that going to do? Not just to customer satisfaction, but customer health, right? This is a big issue. This is one of the issues that really requires a careful thought. How do you deliver the consistent, compliant, regulatory compliant, high quality, relevant, and sufficiently detailed response when you get a question in that particular industry? That's the most life-threatening one. But you can see that inconsistent responses across all industries produce, higher dissatisfaction in customers. It takes more time for your enterprise to deliver the right response. And if the customer has to go to different touch points, here, this is across multiple touch points, clearly, it's not first response, first correct answer, right? We want to get there. First correct response is really what enterprises are always looking for. You all know this, but we will tell you, and we'll share with you some of these cases where we are highlighting how we assist companies to solve these particular challenges. So in particular, we look at things on a number of layers. And when you look at things in terms of channel, in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the metrics, in terms of customer satisfaction, you don't want silo solutions in each of them. You want a platform that can easily share sessions, easily share responses, easily share the knowledge across each of these different technology platforms. So you want to make sure that even if you're going with different vendors, that the data flow is smooth. The other is, ideally, go with people who have actually seen this done, who have the experience, at least hundreds, if not decades, of experience that they can actually call upon in order to provide that experience and that level of insight to your new contact center, okay? So we have a number of data points, but first I'd like to introduce Heather Pena from NRG, who's here, and we are extremely happy that Heather is here to tell us her story and her experience of working with our team in order to deliver this new digital contact center approach to their customer base. So Heather, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Sam, very much. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully all doing very well. Take a moment just to talk a little bit about myself and why I'm here today. My name is Heather Pena. I'm the Director of Web Chat and Operations for NRG, a Fortune 500 company. I have responsibility for inbound and outbound phone calls, chats, emails, social media, customer care across multiple sites and brands. And just to give you a little background, I started out myself as a call center agent almost 20 years ago. So I can say I have a ton of firsthand experience in all of the roles that I now have responsibility for. Gives me a little bit of a unique edge there. On a personal level, I've been called an extreme volunteer. So I'm one of those folks that when you show up to a community event, there's Heather. She's always there. It's her again. I'm doing something, helping in the school, helping with the whatever events going on in the community, and I really enjoy doing that and get a lot from it. But back to Sam's point, digital engagement has never been more relevant in this year, 2020. We all have experienced it together, and it is definitely been a unique year. It definitely seems we have ushered in a new era in technology use in this single year. For example, recent survey shows that COVID-19 has shifted the mobile phone usage habits of American consumers, with texting up 37% and online shopping up 23%. Just significant spikes there. So a little bit about NRG. We are an integrated power company. We produce, sell, and deliver electricity and related products and services in various markets in the United States. The company includes segments of it, including generation, retail, and corporate activities. But today we'll kind of focus on my world, which is retail, and it includes how we communicate to our small business and residential customers. In retail, we are a dynamic set of retail brands. You can see them down in the bottom right corner of your screen. We've got Reliant, Green Mountain Energy, Stream, Zoom, Zero, Discount Power, and Goal Zero, all companies that we support and that my teams specifically support. As you know, energy is all around us, fueling our day-to-day experiences, keeps our families safe, it keeps our businesses running, and helps our neighborhoods thrive. And the way that we engage our customers is built through that customer's experience and how it relates to electricity. One thing I'm really proud about with NRG is we are very customer focused, and that mentality has led us to create technologies and tools that empower residents and organizations to think critically about their electricity. You know, where does my power come from? What impact is my power usage making on the environment? How can I be a more conscientious energy user? And so with that in mind, our brands and products have very different services and communication styles. We focus on the customer experience within each of these brands and work to map the communication channels accordingly. So here I'll go ahead and talk to you a little bit about our partnership with eGain. We have been an eGain customer for about 4 years now, maybe going on 5, I think. And how we use eGain tools to customize our service across all of our brands, and how we've scaled our customer service to match the demands of fast virtual needs that we've encountered in. So from a channel perspective, we have, of course, the call center. It is a reactive call center primarily, and it includes our chat teams. We have our online and digital channels, which are, we have our retailer websites for each brand. We have search and display to offer plans to customers. We have our online affiliates, and we also link with Power to Choose, which is a Texas-based website that lists all the various electricity providers so that you can compare them. And then, of course, we have our direct channels, which include door-to-door. We have actually agents that go door-to-door to sign customers up for electricity. We have direct mail, we have telemarketing, email, of course, and multi-level marketing style referrals. And then our last category is, we call it the alternative, or we also call it our face-to-face channel. We have kiosks in various stores such as Walmart and H-E-B. We have airport agents. We have events that we attend and represent the company. We have realtors, builder multifamily partners, and utility standard offers. So all of these sales channels help us support over 3.7 million customers nationwide. And just to kind of back up a little bit, for those that may be unfamiliar with electricity being deregulated, as some states don't have this yet, in Texas and several other states, customers are able to choose amongst a variety of electricity providers. So of course, this creates a really different and competitive world than what you might see in electricity providers in other states that are not deregulated. This means we have to market to people. We have to compete for their business. We have to differentiate ourselves and retain our customers in a unique way. So the goal of our sales journey is to really identify the customer's needs, reach the customers via prospects and marketing, assemble and provide compelling products, and close new sales, of course. And all of these things are supported by digital communications, including emails, SMS, texts, chat sessions, mobile app messaging, social media, etc. Oops, I went up one. Okay. And so virtual is the new norm for 2020. NRG has leaned into that with all 4 of these strategic initiatives. We look at our levels of customer engagement, both internal and external, in all 4 of these areas. So starting up on the left-hand side with digital experience, we are focused really on the importance of empathy and connection. So we have a multitude of self-service initiatives to address our customers' immediate needs, and then we supplement that with reactive chat, and in some cases proactive chat, to provide users with meaningful and real-time help via eGain. It's critical to deliver consistent message, and I heard Sam mention that as well, across these channels, which is really helped out with the central repository of content in eGain's knowledge. For example, on our websites, when COVID hit, we, like everyone, we're kind of scrambling to figure out how to handle that. And we came up with a COVID-19 crisis center for each of our brand websites. And on that webpage, we were able to provide information, links to resources, safety tips, everything you can think of. And we even were able to add the ability to set up payment plans, because obviously if you're not working and you're at home, or if you are working and you're at home, you really need your electricity and you may not have the necessary funds to cover that. So that's been a big challenge for the electricity energy industry in making sure that we can continue to provide electricity and deal with customers' common pocketbook problems. So on every page, we offered a reactive option to chat to get their real-time support. So the goal being you can find all of the COVID-related information here, and when you need to actually speak to someone, we've got chat via eGain readily available. And similarly, in our customer acquisition space, where the focus there is more on sales than service, we offer both reactive and proactive chat. So say you go to one of our brands, Reliant.com, and you're going to sign up for new electricity service in your new home. You're going to start on this sign up path. If you wanted to, at any point, you've got a Chat Now button on any page within that path, using eGain services to chat with an agent. And if you're not thinking chat, or you don't see the icon and you sit on the page a little too long, we're going to pop up a proactive chat offer to you. We're going to assume maybe there's some question you have or some struggle, and we're going to try to chat in with you and keep you going down that happy path to a successful conclusion, which results in a sale for the company. So moving on down to the left, when it comes to digital innovation, we're really looking into creative ways to interact online. Right? As we know, the future is really just more digitalization, more technology. And what's it going to look like in 5 years? Are we going to be interacting via a video chat, talking about electricity usage in that way? Will we be using chat bots? Where does automation fit in? So just a lot of questions there. And I think the biggest thing is really to look at predictive analytics as we move into the future to really figure out what channels are best for our customers as well as the business. And as we've been embracing changing technology, we've recently deployed co-browse with eGain, which is not a new technology, but new to us, and probably the only electricity provider that's offering co-browse. And we found that really helpful with helping, especially, electricity is not a product that is targeted to any generation or any race or any, in educational level. Everyone needs electricity. So you have plenty of users who are less web savvy than maybe most of us on this call. And so co-browse allows us to, help grandmother, learn how to use her online account management, how to go to different things on the website to get information about her electricity. So really finding that useful. And then we're also about midway through a project with eGain to launch two-way SMS text chat. And that's going to enable customers, especially customers who like asynchronous type interactions like email, to text us instead with their question. And then we're able to text them back using the eGain platform. So that's going to be a new world for us coming up very, very soon within the next few months. And then also in innovation, we have deployed native apps, iPhone apps, Android apps, to support some of our brands. I believe Reliant and Green Mountain currently have apps, and Stream. And then we are also building additional apps for the brands that we've acquired that did not have an app. And we use eGain chat capabilities within those apps as well. So if you're using the app and you need to chat with someone, you can get a real person. And then when it comes to digital operations and platforms, that right side of that slide, eGain has really helped us reduce the number of different applications that our agents have to utilize to support our digital channels. So its infrastructure has really made it seamless when we acquire a new brand. You know, as you can tell with our 7 brands, we do frequently acquire additional brands and need to be able to expand to add those additional brands. And eGain has the infrastructure to allow us to do that. We are also able to restrict agents to particular brands. We're able to be able to tell when a chat comes in what brand that chat is coming from. And then we're able to restrict that whatever brand the agent is working in, they can only see knowledge documents pertaining to that brand. So this really helps a single agent to move between 7 brands with reduced risk of mentioning the wrong brand name or other cross-contamination, you know, maybe delivering information that doesn't apply. And then, of course, very important is it allows us to differentiate each brand experience according to that brand message that we want to deliver to these efficiencies have been phenomenal. We've been able to really just expand the number of agents who are able to support multiple brands. And I think a lot of that is credited to the eGain platform. David, I don't seem to be advancing.
No problem. We got you covered. Sam, you want to advance it?
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to at least say I'm really, really appreciative of you mentioning the co-browse capability. I'm really curious now to learn even more about your experience going forward. I was very involved in the development of that particular. But anyway, thanks for really joining us and telling us the NRG story. I believe David at this point actually has a question that you.
I do. And Heather, before we let you go, we're not letting you go. I'm just throwing that out there. You told me in prep how you were kind of laid out. I mean, there's a number of brands. I think people are more familiar, or maybe more familiar with the Reliant brand, just simply because of the stadium and some of the other stuff. But can you just speak for quickly in terms of the complexion of the contact center? We have a lot of contact center focused folks. So in-house, out-of-house size, those types of things. Can you share a little bit about how you're set up?
Absolutely. So we are sourced, our home office is in Houston. We've got a small call center there. We call it the Center of Excellence. It's kind of our, if we roll something out new, we try it out in Houston first. If we, need to improve something, we work it out in Houston first and then expand it out. We've also got, I believe we're up to 6 sites in Mexico through an outsourcer that we use. And as well, we have a small site in College Station and then a tiny site in Philadelphia. And each of those kind of have different specialties in what they handle. Specific to digital, we handle close to 500,000 chats annually and 100,000 emails across about 100 web chat specific agents. Those web chat agents only handle chat, email, and social media. And then our phone agents, there's about 800 of those that handle phone calls across all of these different brands that I've mentioned.
Great. I'll go ahead and launch our poll question here real quickly, but I have one more question for you, Heather. I'll read the poll question to you in case you can't read it. Well, hold on, let's go back here. The digitalization question. So digitalization of your contact center is something that everybody's talking about. You might have your little toe into the pool, you might be all in, or some combination, but give us your insights. Again, if you're a consultant, what are you seeing in your practice? If you're on the industry side of things, what's the general consensus of your client base? And I go, that's an average, we get it. And then if you're running your own operations or you have multiple operations or you're involved with the operations and you think this is where your your current organization is leaning, just look at it through that lens. We'll keep the poll question up there for a minute. Heather, one more question for you, because there's a lot of conversation, obviously, about work from home, and is it here to stay? So can you share a little bit about your journey on moving agents and managers and everybody else to the home office versus back to corporate and vice versa, just real quick?
Yes. So it's really an amazing experience and something I'm super proud of how quickly we were able to adapt. So we have an office in downtown Houston across from City Hall. So within about 2 weeks of this really starting to boil up, I want to say the 3rd and 4th week of March, we quickly began shutting down our big skyscraper building and sending everyone home. So what that looked like is we already had probably 100 at-home agents, both phone and chat. Our chat was 100% at home, and then our phone, we just had, kind of top performing agents that were a good fit for the at-home model were already at home. Well, when this hit, we literally started pulling equipment off of our call center floor, putting it in agent hands, sending them home with it. And in addition, of course, this happened in March. So anyone that knows electricity and knows Houston and Texas, that is our Christmas. So it's right before we're ramping up for our Christmas, which is summer, when people in Texas use a ton of electricity. That's when, we get the bulk of our call volume. We needed to hire. We had multiple new hire classes kind of in the pipeline. So we had to learn how to onboard a brand new agent, train them, get equipment in their hands, and get them taking calls and chats without ever setting foot in the office. And that was really an amazing feat that I'm very proud we've done and have been doing this whole time. To this day right now, we have 0 people working in the office. Everyone is at home. We handled all of our summer volume, and with the additional increases related to COVID and people not working and pocketbook issues, we did it. And it's been pretty amazing. And, like I said, with eGain, specific to chat, it's been very easy to train people. It's very user friendly. And the other thing that we really like about eGain is we're able to self-serve. So when we acquire a new brand, acquire a new agent, anything that we need to do in eGain, we are generally able to do it ourselves, which makes it really quick and keeps us light on our feet. We're agile with being able to implement those things that we need to implement directly in eGain, and we don't even have to bother eGain support. But I will say eGain is very customer friendly, strong customer service, and very responsive to our issues, and we definitely appreciate the partnership with eGain.
Yeah, especially during these times, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. All right, poll question still up there. I'll leave it there for another minute. Sam, I'll kind of kick it over to you, and we'll talk about the results of the poll question right in front of the Q&A, if you would.
Sure. In fact, I also wanted to tag along with that last question, which is, as I mentioned, we were able to see what contact centers were doing through this whole COVID adjustment. And it's really strong signal that we saw. The mode was right about 2 weeks where things sort of went into disarray. And usually with most of our contact centers, within 2 weeks, they're back to, performance levels that were pre-COVID. And so that quick adjustment, understandably, everybody took a little bit different timing to that particular adjustment. But all in all, we saw things happen within 2 to 4 weeks. And that was actually quite remarkable. And we're really happy to hear Heather's story, where it was actually on the short end of that particular transition duration. I just have a few other ones that I want to share. So here, this is an example where we actually did deploy a virtual assistant. You could call it a chatbot. And this is where normally a website would have a contact us link. We would then be that very first interaction channel. This is a customer that found within a small number of months that they were able to have the chatbot. And as it grew and learned, in the first few months, already able to handle 45% of these customer interactions without having to escalate to a live agent. And that's because the underlying knowledge and the guided help that we provided to that particular chatbot, once it understood what the customer's problem was able to then just resolve the issue for the customer. That leaves your very valuable agent time available to really handle more of the, let's say, more evolved use cases and the reasons for why customers wanted to call you in the first place. This is a really good example because this is on a different scale than most companies. These call centers, there are 10,000 of them across normally a company that has 600 different retail points of presence. This is over in the UK, by the way. Okay, they in particular were able to deploy a chatbot, and actually very quickly, within I think it was 1 or 2 weeks, address what are we doing to protect you from COVID? What are we doing to protect our employees from COVID? And bring that up very, very quickly without having to consult their IT department. This is one of the things you get to do with our platform. Okay. And then once a customer actually said, okay, great, I can actually understand what you're doing with my payment plan, you understand that my service is not going to be interrupted. Then when they finally do escalate to a live agent, they're now dealing with a real, more sophisticated issue, not the simple okay? Those of you that actually use Net Promoter Score understand that improvements on even 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points in NPS are reasons people get promoted. They're reasons that people actually get hired, right? Imagine seeing your NPS go up 30 points as a result of deploying some of this kind of knowledge-based delivery capability to your customers, okay? Not only that, once you actually have this in the knowledge, this is where the consistency of response can really be felt. And therefore now the first contact resolution increases by 37%. That's what you can do. Admittedly, this is one of our larger deployments, but this is just a point to say our solution can scale. Here's another example. One of the ways that you actually reduce the interactions coming into your contact center is by being proactive. If you can actually take the information that you get and instantly update your customer without them having to call every day or a week and say, where's this, where's that, when am I going to get my refund, is my prescription filled already, okay? If you can actually be proactive about delivering that notification to your customers, that category of incoming requests completely disappears from your contact center. And a few years ago, I would say 2 or 3 years ago, this particular customer was delivering about 100 million, and just in the last 2 or 3 years, it's gone up to 300 million. It's tripled, and this is one customer, by the way. And before, it used to be specific to one particular use case, but they've expanded the number of use cases as well. So that's another thing I wanted to tell you, is that by just employing different channels in strategic ways, you can really have a big impact on your contact center, and therefore your first contact resolution, and also your customer satisfaction. Here's a SaaS business that actually also, again, deployed AI and knowledge guidance. And I'm just going to give you that these numbers are what we're seeing, and these are not special numbers. These are numbers that you can get by partnering with us and having some familiarity and developing that expertise in-house over time to actually do this yourself. You get increased confidence in the answer because it's more consistent, right? And you actually improve. Where would that 35% go? You saw in the survey before, right? There was a huge number, but if you can improve finding the correct answer, the consistent correct answer by 35%, that's where you're making big changes in how you're addressing the response, the satisfaction, and the correct. Not only that, time gets cut to a third. Here's an example of a very large telecom provider that actually experienced the COVID change in kind of a little different way as well. They used to have to go out and do home calls, what they call, I believe the industry term is truck roll, okay? So now with the COVID in the COVID era, they couldn't do that anymore. So they had two problems, right? Number one, customers couldn't get their issue resolved with an in-house visit. Number two, they had all these field agents, these field service people, and these trucks that couldn't be sent anywhere anymore. What they actually did, and this is probably consistent with what you're finding elsewhere, they took a huge number of those field service agents and they actually put them on the chat queues, because it was relatively quick and easy to train them to handle these incoming chat requests. They had the product knowledge. They couldn't go out. They couldn't be deployed to go, drive to customer homes anymore, but they could actually still resolve customer issues in the chat center. And this is a particular customer that when COVID hit, we actually saw their incoming chat traffic alone go up 80%, as I mentioned, over what was previously Christmas level. And this is just remarkable too, because they had to do this while seeing that a number of their overseas chat centers were just completely inoperable anymore. They had to quickly put new agents onto the lines, reconfigure their queues, bring in field service agents, and still deliver a high level of customer engagement with our platform. And we assisted them through all of that. I wanted to tell you a little bit about eGain, and perhaps a little bit about myself. eGain has been around. We started with mail. We then went to chat, and very quickly we went to just almost every digital channel that we could see our customers engaging in. So lately, just in the last year or two, we brought on Twitter, Facebook Messenger, Google Business Chat, Apple Business Chat, Amazon Connect, WhatsApp, Instagram, I think Twitter was one of the very first ones. So you can see that the number of channels that we support is broad, but each of them is going to get different adoption depending on these particular verticals. Now, one I really wanted to focus on here is, I've talked about various other ones, but the federal and state government one here is important for me to call out because we are trusted by the IRS to handle your customer data and their data. If they trust us, we're probably going to pass your confidentiality and security requirements, okay? We're in the process of being certified for FedRAMP. Those of you that know about computer security know that that's a big deal, okay? And so, there's another one at the Veterans Affairs. We're into a big deployment there and we're still on the way, but imagine that they've got 60,000 customer service agents and we're on the way towards satisfying their needs for interaction with. So anyway, that's the scale, that's the security, that's a level of trust that I wanted to just point at that says we'll probably be able to help. And how do we do it? Well, as I mentioned, we have a wide number of channels. So I itemized the number of those just about 2 minutes ago. But underneath it all is the knowledge base. And then once we understand what knowledge needs to be provided to the agent or to the customer in web self-service, the more experience we have that says, okay, this is the right response, then we can automate that. And once we automate that, we can then put that into a chatbot. So we have a whole flow of information from just being simple content to being deployable and executable knowledge to actually being in a real virtual assistant, i.e. chatbot, that actually leads you through a multi-step process. That's the life cycle of knowledge. And that, because it's core to our platform, can be delivered across all of these different channels. At the bottom there, we say we have a lot of integrations to your CRM system, your content management system, your intranet, these are all integration points that we've been able to deliver. And again, just to summarize, we see huge improvements in NPS, in first contact resolution, in time to train, typically 50%, time to level of competence for your agents, again, halved on average, as well as just the number of shared channels. By the way, one of the things that I heard Heather mention was the texting channel. Every one of the customers that I've interacted with that is leveraged to that particular channel has underestimated their volume. They've always utilized more volume than they thought they would get because millennials, customers really want to utilize that text channel. I'm just about ready to wrap up, but just to give you a sense on how we go about doing this, we will connect you digitally. The connect is where we provide all of those different channels, the traditional ones all the way up to the social ones. Once you're there, at least one channel will give you the knowledge platform underneath it so that the answers are consistent, high quality, well curated, well managed, well authored. There's a whole set of workflows around that. We give you the ability to monitor your contact center. So you can actually then look at the right metrics, find ways to intervene, and then optimize.
Let me start with the poll results, because really, this is just one of those things that you're going to jump in and say, yeah, that's what we've been seeing, or boy, no, that's not what we're seeing. But again, the question is digitalization of the contact center is an area of focus for us now and in 2021. And 57% of the folks agree with that. 35% agree somewhat. So clearly, 90+% of folks are saying, yeah, this is the trend that's happening. Is that what you're seeing as well? Does that marry up?
In fact, that's consistent with the high 80+% number that I was citing earlier.
We've got some work from home questions, so I'll kind of jump in on that. And Sam, this may be kind of aimed at you. What percentage of US-based contact center agents do you think are working from home now versus how that might change in 2021? So this is kind of speaking to what you're seeing in the industry in terms of that shift.
We do see that after the shift to work from home, that has not gone back yet to the contact center. And in particular, some of the contact centers that are overseas shut down, but then, the services were reconfigured by the US companies. So those were probably able to get themselves back online, but there's still, many of them are also working from home. So I would have to say that based on what I've seen, it's still probably over 70 or 80%. And again, I don't have the precise numbers for you, but it's overwhelmingly the case that companies are being safe with their employees. They're making it work. Our platform actually makes it quite easy because it's on the internet. So, the one interesting thing I could mention is that before, internet weather affected only the customer side of the chat because the agent to server connection was very, very solid when they were working from the contact center. When agents now work from home, now they're also again susceptible to internet weather. So we're seeing some of those issues pop up. So those are new metrics that have to be monitored that didn't previously have to be monitored. So because we're seeing some of that, we're still seeing that people are working from home. But again, I don't have the precise number, and that's just—
No, it's no problem. You covered what we wanted to cover. Heather, just adding to that, do you have any insights of what you guys planning for 2021 to bring them all back, leave them all there, some kind of hybrid model?
Yeah, I think we're looking at a hybrid model. You know, we always wanted to have agents at home that, you know, it was a good fit for. It's a great agent retention model. You know, who doesn't want to work at home 24/7, you know? So
Sure.
we'll definitely, for those that fit and that are performing well at home and want to work at home, we're not planning to bring them back. We're going to keep them at home. And then, of course, with the new hire, it is challenging. It works well to train and onboard completely remotely, but it is more resource intensive. So you might have to have multiple trainers versus, you know, several in a classroom setting. So we probably will return to an in-person classroom setting for most agents, but we do already have, you know, in a moment's notice, you know, we have a lot of hurricanes here in Houston. We have a lot of sometimes there's been social unrest where we couldn't go downtown. So in those scenarios, we could easily plug and play. Like, you wouldn't have to say the office is closed, no one can work. We would just move it to a remote, very, you know, on the drop of a hat. So it's really cool.
Great, thank you. Sam, back to you. And one more point, and this kind of dovetails into the next question. Instead of reading the question, I'll just kind of summarize it here. Those centers that seem to make that transition to home a little smoother, was there any kind of a key ingredient there? Any low-hanging fruit that, oh, well, they all kind of did this well? Is there any one thing that comes to mind?
There's probably multiple anecdotal data points. Number one, they really relied on knowledge in order to make sure that it wasn't product knowledge that they were teaching their field agents. It was platform knowledge, so they could actually get to exactly what they need. If anything, because of the connection from home, I think there might be some enhancements that they did to make sure that that connection was reliable. And I'm a case in point. You know, I'm very remote right here. I'm in the northwest corner of the country, in a very remote location. And so getting reliability here, you saw, was a little bit of a challenge. But that's the one thing I think customers may have wanted to focus on, is to make sure that the connection, providing the right knowledge, and then making sure they had environments that were conducive to the particular customer interaction. But
That's
yeah,
pretty
there's
consistent from what we've been hearing as well, the environment and connectivity. This is another question. Sorry to rush you off there, but we've got about 4 or 5 minutes. I want to get to as many of these questions as we can. My colleague Bill just used the chat box. Bill, I'm just teasing you. You're supposed to use the question box, Bill. But in any event, we'll still get your question. You mentioned, Sam, that companies moving call center positions back to the US as other countries had to close due to the pandemic. What percentage do you think will move back, and what percentage will remain in the US? Any insights there? Any thoughts?
So again, this is anecdotal. I do know that the contact centers I visited overseas were quite competent, and they were quite well trained, and their infrastructure was quite good. So I think it was a momentary issue that actually prompted this move back to the United States. Now, that said, we're not going to see universal move back to the overseas. Some of them will still leverage the competence that does exist overseas, but some of them will know that, hey, this move did work, so we're just going to keep doing what we're doing now. There's not going back to the previous normal. This is the new normal. And so customers are just going to look at, you know, where they were getting their efficiencies and their quality. And undoubtedly, I think some will shift back to overseas, but I think that mix is going to be natural.
Yep. And again, this is probably aimed at you, Heather. You know, how are you determining the productivity and efficiency of at-home agents? Any key ingredients there?
Sure, that would require a lot longer than we probably have, but I would say that anyone that knows, that works in a call center, has a call center, knows that we've never met a metric we didn't like. So there's a ton of metrics. We look at availability, we look at first contact resolution, we look at sales percentages, we look at CSAT, and we have report on top of report that measures just everything the agents are doing to make sure that they're being productive at home and as well delivering awesome customer service.
Thank you. Kind of a general question here, maybe Sam, better for you. And again, I know that we have a wide variety of verticals that are here with us today. We certainly do within the CCNG member base. But are there, you talked about federal government and whatnot, but are there certain channels that lend themselves better to certain verticals? I think healthcare and maybe financial services really are sometimes a few steps ahead of other verticals. Do you have any channel by vertical anecdotal information to help people?
We know the verticals that we work with, so this might be a little bit of a biased or a skewed reaction.
Sure.
So the channels that do require a lot of in-person assistance, I could name some of them, but there's so many that really require, let's say, physical transfer of product or physical examination, specifically either medical or home repair. Anything that requires a physical interaction is going to have some element of digital support to schedule it probably, but they're still going to need that more in-person kind of support. The ones that actually have been there the longest, I think, are the ones that we are familiar with, and those are the 5 industries that we've highlighted as the ones that we focus on. So I'm probably not yet pulling out the entire mix of other industries that may not have been quite so quickly able to jump onto the digital channels.
Sure. Well, and again, as we're getting close to the wrap up here, and I want to make sure I give you a sec to talk about that offer. We did have one more question. We don't have to get to it in detail, but just know if you've asked a question we didn't, we'll make sure we get it. But it had to do with the cost of measuring each of the channels. So I'm assuming, both of you can kind of speak to that a little bit. Good answer.
The second answer is we have out-of-the-box reports that we can then customize.
Oh, very good. All right. Talk to us a little bit about this slide here, Sam.
So as we mentioned, we want to connect you with your customers in a digital channel. We want to give you the knowledge that actually gives you the high quality response. But we also want you to be able to experience this. This is not just a set of claims that I'm making. So in 2 days, if you'll have a conversation with us first to say, this is what your problem is, and second, you will listen to our findings and watch our demo, we will take a 2-day effort and actually scrape your website, look at what customers are actually interacting with you on, and actually put together a demo. It's not going to be integrated with your website, but it'll be very illustrative, very demonstrative of what a chatbot or a virtual agent could be doing for you and your customers and what that customer experience might be like. So if you want to leverage this, contact our team, contact me, contact my colleagues, and we will actually just model those first 5 reasons that customers come to you and give you that customer experience that you can then evaluate so that you can actually then say, hey, I want this for our customers. So
fantastic.
That offer is open. That offer is open for the next, I believe, 2 weeks.
Well, thank you again. I know it's just funny because we set all this up, we talk about it, we figure, 30, 40, 45 minutes, all of a sudden here we are, a full hour, right? We didn't even get to everything. So that's kind of the way it goes. We'll wrap it up there. We want to thank, of course, Heather and Sam for their time today. We want to encourage anybody that would like to get additional information, just ping us. We're more than happy to make the connection for you. We're going to encourage Heather to jump in deep and kind of help members on our Slack channel. But again, if you need more information in general, eGain.com, or if Michelle or myself or anyone on the CCNG can help navigate, we're more than happy to do so. We'll wrap it up. Heather, Sam, thank you so much. It was a great session. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Heather, very much.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here.